The Bronco Sport is now out at dealerships, and car reviews are finally out. About last week, they were revealed, and I wanted to do a comparison to the Jeep Renegade and Compass because that's what a lot of the car review sites seem to have focused on. And I'm going to do a comparison mostly on off-road technical specs and mostly focus on the Badlands, which is like their version of the Trailhawk, trail rated version of the Jeeps. I'll also be comparing it to the Jeep Cherokee Trailhawk, which none of the reviewers really seem to compare it to, but I think it is worthy of doing so because it's about similarly priced, even though it is a little bit of a larger SUV. So here we have some specs on the approach, departure, and breakover angles, as well as the ground clearance and water fording. What stuck out most to me about the Bronco Sport is its really low breakover angle, which is pretty important when going over certain obstacles, such as like a tank trap or cresting a hill. And what I found out is the Bronco Sport is as long as a Jeep Compass, but it has a much longer wheelbase than the Jeep Compass. And while that helps with road handling and comfort, it is not very good off-road. It is by far the most disappointing thing about the Bronco Sport to me. Going on to other specs, the ground clearance is about on par with the Compass and the Renegade. I think anything over 8 inches in this segment of vehicles is doable, and I'm sure you can lift these in the future, but lifting independent suspension, McPherson struts, that can always have alignment issues. I have mine stock, so I can't really comment much on that. The water fording is pretty good at almost 2 feet. Uh, I don't think you're not really going to be crossing any rivers with these types of vehicles, but the extra water resistance that they put into either the Badlands or the Trailhawks is decent for you to make sure that you don't run into any problems out on the trail. And to compare it to the Cherokee Trailhawk, you could see that while being a larger SUV, the Cherokee has a better breakover and nearly the same approach and departure while having a much better ground clearance, especially because there's a lot bigger tires than the rest of this segment. And I think it would be something for you to compare if you're considering a Bronco Sport. And my reasons for comparing it to the Cherokee Trailhawk really show when you start to look at the powertrains of these vehicles. The Bronco Sport, the Badlands, comes standard with their highest output motor with the 2.0 turbo, making about 250 horsepower and 277 foot-pounds of torque, making it really comparable to the Cherokee's powertrain options of a naturally aspirated V6 or FCA's own version of a 2-liter turbo. But the biggest differences here are that the Cherokee Trailhawks have a real transfer case, which really help with the gearing, climbing up hills, and they also have a real rear locker that's mechanical. The Bronco Sport Badlands has some sort of dual clutch rear differential, and it's like a computer activated, kind of like a limited slip differential, and they can engage to send power 50-50 to the rear wheels from left to right, so it can act like it will kind of acts like a temporary locker. My issue with these is that, from what I've seen, is most of these electronic locker type of things typically tend to overheat, and they're only good for short amounts of time. But that is a better, it's something, it's better than nothing, like compared to the Renegade or the Compass. The Renegade and Compass are an older platform. They came out in 2014. And they also have older engine options. You can see they have a naturally aspirated 2.4 liter, maybe about 180 horsepower and 175 foot-pounds of torque. They do have the newest Trailhawks have a 1.3 liter turbo, making about 177 horsepower and 200 foot-pounds of torque. The one thing with the Bronco Sport Badlands that I was a little bit disappointed with is that not only is no transfer case, but the gearing also isn't as low as the Renegade or Compass. So the Renegade and Compass have a little bit of a gearing advantage, but I don't think that overcomes the powertrain differences between them. I think the Bronco Sport Badlands will have a little bit more power climbing up hills and such, but it is a more expensive platform. My final thoughts on the Bronco Sport would be some issues that I think it'll have in the future. My second most notable thing is, other than the breakover, is the no rear tow hook. And I have already used my rear tow hook a couple of times, and it just makes it easier to pull backwards out of an obstacle you're stuck in instead of having to go forwards, uh, especially if it's an obstacle you got stuck on and you can't go over. Going backwards is a lot easier. This can be solved if you have a tow package and you just get a tow hook for the hitch, and that should solve it. But you would need the tow package option if you were going to do that. The reviews were released last week, and at least 2 reviewers have gotten overheating issues. CNET had a Badlands edition, and they overheated in the sand, and it's fall time, so the deserts weren't even that hot. Another reviewer with a non-Badlands, theirs overheated going up a hill, and their 4x4 all-wheel drive system shut off. Ford noted that the non-Badlands has less cooling going through the all-wheel drive system because it doesn't have that electronic locker. So the Badlands should have more cooling, but it already has witnessed some overheating issues. Overall, I think the Renegade and Compass are still good for mostly because of the breakover angle. It has the chops to kind of save you going over a steep hill or an obstacle you probably shouldn't be doing in a vehicle like these. I think the Bronco Sport will ride more comfortably. It'll be faster and overall better road handling. Well, I'm not sure with that low breakover angle if it'll really do much dedicated off-road. And overall, I think the Cherokee Trailhawk, if you're really wanting to off-road something like this, the Cherokee Trailhawk with its mechanical rear locker and transfer case, it will really best out any of these vehicles for about the same price. And that's my kind of initial thoughts seeing the Bronco Sport. I like the competition that adds to make it more challenging for Jeep, and maybe Jeep will up its ante with the Renegade and Compass, and hope to see more of these on the road in the future. Thanks for watching.